Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. Whenever the number of people exceeded 10,000, it would feel as though there was a sea of people. And yet close to 10,000 great beings of various clans from the universe both had gathered in the life and death corridor. At first glance it was, indeed, a dense crowd, and at that moment, all of them were in a heated discussion. After the human Milky Way Horde leader and Blue Blood, the next to pass the second bottleneck was, unexpectedly, Water Song Master. This is an inconspicuous universe master from the second reincarnation era, has managed to catch up with the progress. Water Song has extraordinary potential. The first reincarnation era, and the two Holy Lands, must be going crazy with rage. Especially the first reincarnation era. It would be weird if they did not go mad with rage. Ranked first three are from the Primal Universe, East Emperor Holy Land Universe, and the second reincarnation era, respectively. There might be the most candidates from the first reincarnation era, yet none have made it to the top three. The various clans were gasping with admiration. Done. Feng was smiling as he stood before the crystal pillar. Just a while ago, he had perfectly decoded the 3000th endgame within that crystal pillar, the moment he had successfully decoded that stage. Feng raised his head to look far away. Duandong River should be showing up any moment. Countless cyan light spots were consolidating in the air. The temperature of the surroundings plunged, which faintly caused everyone's souls to feel a freezing sensation, sending violent shudders to course through every great being present. All raised their heads to look, and what they could see in midair were countless cyan light spots that looked like snowflakes falling. What's wrong? Something big is going to happen. These countless cyan light spots that resembled snowflakes suddenly surged towards Feng in a frenzy. The ground behind Feng suddenly split apart, and another crystal pillar appeared. At that moment, Feng had three towering crystal pillars surrounding him, and the countless cyan light spots rapidly consolidated to form another palace that enshrouded him. Golden, red, and cyan, a tricolored palace that was dazzling beyond comparison. At that moment, Feng was like a king of an army of close to 10,000 great beings of the universe ocean. What? No. Seventh true master of Divine Eye Clan let out a furious roar right away, his eyes filled with panic. The chance of transcending reincarnation belongs to my Divine Eye Clan. It belongs to my Divine Eye Clan. How detestable, I condemn you. This, an entrenched giant beast from the first reincarnation era cried, tears of anguish as it let out a sorrowful roar. Are you bent on exterminating my entire young beast? Even our very last chance, you must deprive us of it. I can't bear to see this. I can't take it lying down. Desperation. All the great beings of the first reincarnation era were practically in despair. They were the majority of all the candidates present, and also the ones who desperately wanted to receive the inheritance, because their doomsday was drawing near. If even this chance of inheritance was lost, they might be left with the path to annihilation. They were reluctant to be annihilated, so reluctant for the entire clan to disappear during this reincarnation era. They struggled. They fought. For this, they would do everything and anything, even if it meant bullying and insulting Feng right from the very beginning. Even if it meant attacking him rampantly so as to affect his progress. But fate had made a mockery out of them. The scene before them clearly showed them that Feng had already passed the third bottleneck. There were 4 bottlenecks, and if one managed to break through the 4th bottleneck, the inheritance could be claimed right away. There was no further need for competition. One who had obtained the inheritance at the 3rd bottleneck would take the identity of a core candidate. Compared to him, the rest were merely peripheral candidates who had passed the 1st bottleneck. The possibility that they would obtain the inheritance was almost negligible. Milky Way. A streak of white light appeared in mid-air, then transformed into the dazzling form of Duandong River, clothed in white, elegant armor. At that moment, Duandong River was no longer cold and aloof. On the contrary, he was dazzling. An era just passed. Duandong River closed his eyes, but tears were already falling. There was only silence. Every great being present raised his head to look at Duandong River. Only one era has passed, Duandong River said softly with a sigh. Even though time velocity was accelerated within the miniature universe, it was, nonetheless, only limited to 10,000 times. Yet you have managed to break through the third bottleneck. Never in my wildest dreams. On this road to desperation, after being forced to abandonment and finding myself on this road to desperation, I am still able to finally find a descendant like you. What? The expressions of every clan, every great being present, changed drastically. Could it be that Duandong River wanted to give Luo Feng the inheritance straight away? This would not do. I have done wrong to generations of ancestors. Duandong River shut his eyes as his body trembled. A look of anguish dominated his face as he slowly opened his eyes and looked at Luo Feng. I have done them wrong. It was me who sent all of Duandong River's pulse of bloodline falling into extermination. The pulse of Duandong River, which was incomparably noble and powerful, with countless eras of glory and fame, who once stood most dazzlingly on the apex of the world. But I have brought my pulse of bloodline into the ultimate severance. I am a sinner. But I had no choice. Duandong River looked at Luo Feng. You are apt to comprehend, and you are almost my equal in terms of ability. No matter what, at least for this generation of inheritance, I am able to find an heir, who does not pale in comparison to me. You, in only one era, have broken through the third bottleneck. He gazed at Luo Feng. Congratulations, Milky Way. Luo Feng held his breath. If you can move on to reach the fourth bottleneck, Duandong River's gaze swept over the crowd, they, one by one, will be eliminated and annihilated in celebration of your claim of the inheritance. Close to 10,000 great beings present were shocked. One by one, they would be annihilated. Previously, did Duandong River not say that so long as they met the requirements, they could continue? Now, it seemed that Duandong River was obviously not an honest man. Once he found his heir, the other candidates would be rendered useless. For 3 eras. Duandong River looked at Luo Feng. This time, the time taken to comprehend the Rhinoceros Emperor game was a total of 3 eras. Within these 3 eras, if you can break through to reach the fourth bottleneck, then even if I were to die, I would feel no shame toward generations of ancestors. Remember, within 3 eras. As Duandong River said his last line, his figure diminished and vanished. The entire corridor fell into silence again. Countless great beings looked toward Luo Feng. In their eyes was jealousy, insanity, admiration, shock, malice, hatred. For 3 eras. Is that it? Luo Feng shut his eyes and continued to put his full efforts into comprehending the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Year after year, time passed. Every few thousand years within the corridor, there would be one great being who managed to pass the second bottleneck after much difficulty. As for breaking through the first bottleneck, that was no longer in the picture. Apparently, the great number of undying godly souls and universe knights who were unable to achieve the breakthrough had reached their limits. They would not be able to achieve that breakthrough regardless of how much time they were given. Blue Blood Universe Knight. Only second to Luo Feng when he passed the second bottleneck. Water Song Master. He was ranked 3rd. Dear Bug Master. His outburst was what Purple Moon Holy Land was secretly looking forward to. Remote Snow. The only undying. Yuzon Master. East Emperor Holy Land's only hope. Sorcerer Sprite Master. She had unexpectedly broken through the second bottleneck, which was indeed a great surprise, as the Divine Eye clan had not expected her to be able to achieve the breakthrough with the deadline of 3 eras drawing close. It was indeed an unexpected surprise. The whole Divine Eye clan was so emotional that most were close to tears. Sorcerer Sprite Master, a lady, had accidentally become the greatest hope of their clan. Time flew by. 28,000 years, 28,500 years, 29,000 years. The final boundary of the three eras timeline was drawing near. Everyone was anxious, all feeling worried. They were worried that Luo Feng might really achieve a breakthrough and pass the fourth bottleneck. He won't make it. He definitely won't make it. If he did, then all hope would be lost. No more hope. He can't. I would rather die. I would rather Luo Feng be annihilated so that my clan has hope. The last glimmer of hope. Do not cut off my clan's last bit of hope. One by one, they were secretly praying. There were even universe masters who went crazy and tried to attack Luo Feng. As a result, the tricolored palace merely gave a brief tremor, and they were immediately annihilated, reduced to dust. In the virtual universe, the man in the white robe looked toward Luo Feng. He was truly taken aback. Luo Feng was improving at a terrifying rate. Throughout the decoding process of Rhinoceros Emperor game, he had seen Luo Feng's speed getting faster and faster. His ability to comprehend was continuously on the rise, and his aptitude was also progressing at a terrifying rate. Luo Feng was like a piece of scrap metal evolving into an extremely fine piece of steel. He found it unbelievable. The evolution of a great being could be that fast, especially towards the final stage, when Luo Feng was decoding stage after stage without a break, like the reincarnation of a phoenix upon its death. There was no stopping him. Luo Feng's ability to comprehend alarmed teacher origin. Previously, he had only cultivated for a short period of time, mused teacher origin, and this time around, studying for 30,000 years under an acceleration of 10,000 times time velocity, which makes it 30,000 eras. Is it because time is ample this time around? No, the past generations had seen many great beings cultivating for endless years, but the situation had never become so extreme before. Could it be that the pulse of Earthlings originally possessed something unique within their souls? And Luo Feng happens to be the most dazzling one of them all. Teacher Origin thought it through. The pulse on Earth was a very special one, as its state of mind was equipped with an extremely strong willpower. Once there was comprehension achieved, breakthrough would be fast. Sitting Mountain Guest remodeled Earth, thus bringing about changes to a portion of my human race. This portion of humans now constitutes the pulse of Earthlings. With a frown, Teacher Origin thought, throughout the primal universe, or even throughout the entire universe ocean, what I have yet to gain a thorough look of, other than the ancestors of the two holy lands who have yet to show themselves within the universe ocean, is this Sitting Mountain Guest. Sitting Mountain Guest. What plans did he have? Everything about Luo Feng is related to him. Previously, he took Flame Emperor under his wing, and later, there was also Put. Teacher Origin pondered. He was the creator of the virtual universe. The virtual universe enveloped the entire primal universe. It was magical. It was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Teacher Origin knew many secrets and mysteries, but there were still many that he could not wrap his mind around. Sitting Mountain Guest was one person he could not fathom. Luo Feng was completely immersed in the world filled with Rhinoceros Emperor game and secret techniques. He had started out studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game as an amateur, but with the passing of time, by honing of willpower, his ability to comprehend was fundamentally improved through all the studying he was engaged in. For various reasons, he was addicted. Now, he was obsessed with studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game. The instantaneous interpretation, comprehension, and decoding from a million different perspectives. The exhilaration he got, as though he had figured out the secrets of the universe. As for his potential, under such a honing process, he was like a piece of jade gradually starting to radiate its brilliance. The 3890th stage. Luo Feng stopped for a breather and a sense of time. With a slight frown, he lamented, the time limit of 3 eras is drawing near. Am I able to make it in time? However. So, what if I cannot make it in time? The Rhinoceros Emperor game benefits me greatly. Even if I were to really come in contact with the inheritance, I have full confidence that I will be able to seize it. Luo Feng had a confidence that came from within. After close to 3 eras of honing, he had already brought both of his willpower and that comprehension that was so difficult to detect, to an extremely intimidating level. East Emperor Holy Lands, blue blood has broken through the third bottleneck. Similarly, countless cyan light spots rained down to create an incomparably dazzling scene. Duandong River made his appearance. An heir of mine. I'm afraid, only you are able to fight with Milky Way now. The other candidates, unless they undergo repeated evolutions. Duandong River looked at Blue Blood Knight and encouraged. Keep working hard. Do not concede defeat so easily. Yes. Blue Blood Knight was deferential. He looked toward Luo Feng with an intimidating light in his eyes. That was absolute insanity. He was fighting on. Fighting on. The one and only chance of endless time had come. He was grasping onto it with his life. He would hold a tight rein over himself and give it his all. He was burning with passion. Before the limit of 3 eras arrived, he finally decoded the 3000th stage. Blue blood. Luo Feng took one look at Blue Blood Knight. He wants to fight me. The 3 eras finally came to an end. In the end, Luo Feng only managed to decode up to the 3911th stage. This was already an amazing feat after all. He had spent slightly more than 1 era to finally break through the third bottleneck. With just 2 eras, it would be too difficult to break through the fourth bottleneck. Duandong River looked down at everyone and slowly announced. At the end of 3 eras, the selection through Rhinoceros Emperor game ends. 292 achieved a breakthrough of the first bottleneck. 5 achieved a breakthrough of the second bottleneck. 2 achieved a breakthrough of the third bottleneck. The great beings beneath Duandong River started shouting. We all arrived later than Milky Way and company. We should be given more time. True, do give us more time. Indeed, there were many who had arrived later than Luo Feng by half a year, or even 1 to 2 years. Duandong River looked down and said coldly, even giving you all another era, I'm afraid none of you would have passed the first bottleneck. Even if you managed to pass the first bottleneck, what use would I have for you all? This inheritance, Milky Way, and Blue Blood are the most important. The other 5 who passed the second bottleneck are, theoretically, still possible candidates. The rest of you are merely here to make up the number. As for all of you here, you did not even make it past the first bottleneck. According to the rules, all of you shall die. Duandong River made a wave. Golden light rays burst out from the numerous crystal pillars within the life and death corridor. That golden light could give rise to a palace. It could also be used to attack. Countless light spots attacked the great beings. In the blink of an eye, close to 10,000 great beings who were present were annihilated, reduced to dust. In the end, only near to 300 survived. The survivors, although taken aback by how powerful that force was, were all filled with anticipation. Rhinoceros Emperor game had finally come to an end. The next step would be to start getting in contact with the inheritance. This was the legendary inheritance from a pulse of Duandong River. The rest of you shall continue advancing. Upon reaching the next hall, you may start receiving the inheritance. Duandong River looked at Luo Feng and the other 299 candidates, then pointed to somewhere far away. A loud rumble sounded, and a faraway floodgate that was originally shut started to rise. Even from where Luo Feng stood, he could faintly see the hall at the other end. Go on. Duandong River transformed into a streak of light, and with a flash, he arrived at the faraway hall. Luo Feng, Blue Blood Knight, Deer Bug Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Water Song Master, Remote Snow, Yuzon Master, and the 7 Universe Supreme Masters, as well as a large group of candidates who managed to pass the first bottleneck, all flew toward the next hall. Virtual Universe. Numerous stone pillars with their 3-dimensional virtual shadows could be found. Luo Feng was seated cross-legged, but he had already stopped comprehending. Because he was about to start getting in contact with the inheritance, he did not dare get distracted. The 3 great eras. The man in white robes stood before a stone pillar. With a smile, he nodded. At least I made it before the 3 great eras. I shall stop my decoding here. The 6002nd stage. The man in white robes laughed lightly and shook his head. Inside the dark and ancient palace, there were only 9 crystal balls giving out dimming light, illuminating the entire palace. When the 299 great beings flew into the palace, Duandong River was already sitting in the throne and looking down with a smile on his face. You can start to know the real inheritance now that you've arrived here, he said. Inheritance. Real inheritance. Every power knew that only one could receive the complete inheritance. However, even if one could only receive part of the inheritance and bring back the information, it would be worth it. Even part of the inheritance might provide a way to transcend incarnation. Once I find a way, I'll self-destruct, said some. I have other bodies, so I can still live. But if I'm attacked by Duandong River, I might die forever. Many great beings, who had overcome the first obstacle, thought this way. There were 299 great beings. 2 of them had overcome the third obstacle, and 5 had overcome the second obstacle. There wouldn't be any chance for those who had only overcome the first obstacle. If they were smart, they should have just gathered some information and left immediately. Duandong River, seeing those great beings excited, said, "Don't hurry. Theoretically, you can all start the real inheritance. However, I have something to ask." Ask? Everyone was anxious. They all cursed Duandong River for creating so much trouble. I'll spare the other candidates, but I do want to ask the 7 Universe Supreme Masters. Duandong River looked down at the 7 Universe Supreme Masters. Out of the 7, 6 were from the first universe era while 1 was from the second. They were way behind this time, and they had been crushed during the Rhinoceros game. If you don't answer appropriately, you lose your chance to receive inheritance, said Duandong River. The 7 Universe Supreme Masters were shocked. It's not that I'm not giving you a chance, but Duandong River has special requirements for miniature universes, said Duandong River. Once a miniature universe is formed, the path will be restricted. If the structures of your miniature universes cannot meet my requirements, you won't be qualified to receive inheritance. The structures of miniature universes. All the Universe Supreme Masters were dazed. Universe Masters and Universe Knights are relatively weak, and haven't formed miniature universes yet, said Duandong River. They don't have this problem. The one who receives the inheritance from Duandong River will be instructed how to structure his miniature universe. However, they are already fixed. Let me ask you this. What are your miniature universes like? Well, all the Supreme Masters were hesitant. They all desired to answer with the kind of miniature universes Duandong River wanted, yet they could just invent an answer. Duandong River wasn't dumb enough to accept it. At the same time, other 292 great beings were all relieved, as it was the Universe Supreme Masters who had to take the bullet. No wonder, thought Luo Feng. He understood now. No wonder the 2 Holy Lands didn't send any Universe Supreme Masters. It seems that Duandong River allows Universe Supreme Masters to become inheritors, but he has set an extremely high threshold, as well as special requirements for the structures of miniature universes. The Universe Supreme Masters don't even have miniature universes anymore, so there aren't any structures. But there are requirements for miniature universes. The Universe Masters, Universe Knights, and Undying Fighters broadened their horizons. They weren't in any trouble, but they were interested in learning the requirements for the structures of miniatures universes. Just tell me. Duandong River frowned. What are you waiting for? You, speak first. He pointed at Tai Bu Demon Master. Tai Bu Demon Master was hesitant, then said, when I turned into a Universe Supreme Master from a Universe Master, I created 8 dimensions around the miniature universe: gold, wood, water, fire, mud, wind, thunder, and light. They are all connected to the universe origin, and stabilizing the small universe. Ordinary laws. Duandong River smirked and shook his head. Next. He looked at Second True Master. Tai Bu Demon Master shook his head and sighed, as he knew that he had no chance. Second True Master became anxious. He began to make things up. I've created 10,081 miniature dimension spaces, and each of the dimension spaces is connected to the universe origin, leading to an energy space. Besides, the 10,081 spaces formed a space engraving in the shape of a sword. Just so. Duandong River looked to Second True Master. Second True Master kept speaking. Of course not. I've also created 1001 small dimensions, forming time engravings, which is also in the shape of a sword. The time engraving and space engraving are intertwined. You're just making things up, said Duandong River. Your miniature universe would have been in a mess if that were the case. Next. Ha ha. Some great beings couldn't help laughing. Second True Master glanced around, angry. He had, indeed, been making things up, as it was a completely imaginary structure. After all, when he was breeding the universe, he was very careful, and he didn't dare to be bold. When I became a universe supreme master, God Kingdom became a small universe, which has 8 periphery worlds and 2 core worlds. It's extremely stable. Even though it's stable, it's difficult to improve. Duandong River shook his head. Next. All the universe supreme masters were trying to make up lies to satisfy the requirements of Duandong River, but he was not fooled. Next. Ha ha, interesting. Are you sure your universe is like that? Mediocre. After hearing all the answers from the universe supreme masters, he shook his head. Without the instructions from the more powerful beings, he said, you can't even think of a more sophisticated way to create universes. None of you 7 can inherit Duandong River, and you don't have enough potential. If you can solve 6,000 puzzles, we'll be willing to pay the price. However, you're too underqualified to receive the inheritance from my Duandong River. The 7 universe supreme masters looked at each other, discouraged that they had come here trying to receive inheritance. They were at a disadvantage when playing the Rhinoceros Emperor game, and they were discriminated against because of their miniature universes. All the other 292 great beings were calm, even those great beings from the first universe era. After all, it wasn't discrimination against a particular power. Instead, none of the universe supreme masters were qualified to enter the next round. I didn't expect that there were mysteries behind forming miniature universes, Luo Feng thought. That's right. Universe supreme masters are already the top beings in the original universe. As for the universe structures, only the greater beings from the ancient civilization can tell which one is better. This was what inheritance meant. It was based on the experience of the elder generations, and they found a path to becoming the pinnacle being. The elder generations paid a great price for it, and it was so invaluable that even the 2 ancestors from Holy Land longed for it. None of you 7 are qualified. Duandong River looked down. Aside from you 7, none of the candidates from the Divine Eye clan are qualified, and they're all going to die. Divine Eye clan. Luo Feng was dazed. What? Dear Bug Master was surprised as well. The Divine Eye clan isn't qualified. Blue Blood Knight was confused. Impossible. Sorcerer Sprite Master said, shocked. Everyone from the Divine Eye clan was dazed. 7th True Master took out the supreme true treasure Ice Cliff Fortress. He immediately went into Ice Cliff Fortress, which grew larger. The fortress on the mountain looked elegant and delicate. 7th True Master transmitted his voice, come in. Everyone from the Divine Eye clan entered Ice Cliff Fortress. All the 28 candidates from the Divine Eye clan entered Ice Cliff Fortress. It landed on the floor, followed by a furious voice saying, Master Duandong River, why aren't we qualified? Why do we all need to die? Why are we discriminated against? If you really don't want us to receive inheritance, why didn't you tell us when we were being inspected just like you did to the Skeleton Clan? If you had told us beforehand, we wouldn't have come in. The candidates from the Divine Eye clan were indeed infuriated. However, they all knew that they needed to have the argument from inside Ice Cliff Fortress. After all, even Duandong River couldn't hurt them if they were in a supreme true treasure palace, especially when Duandong River was already dead. That's right, why the double standard? You gave us hope, and you let us despair. Why did you only tell us we're not qualified, and we all have to die at this moment? Clearly, the Divine Eye clan was infuriated. Duandong River looked down. It's a request from my friend. I owe him one, so I said yes. A request. All the great beings from the pulse of the Divine Eye clan, who were within Ice Cliff Fortress at that point in time, were so angry with that friend of Duandong River that they wanted to eat his flesh, drink his blood, and gnaw his bones. They loathed him. The Divine Eye clan had 7 great miniature universes. In the first miniature universe, all 7 true masters were gathered together to monitor the progress of this round of inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River. They envied Luo Feng and Blue Blood Knight for being so outstanding. They were disheartened because their own clan did not have any good candidate, but they were also relieved and thankful for the fact that Sorcerer Sprite Master had been able to achieve a breakthrough of the second bottleneck at the very last minute. Just as they were feeling out of sorts regarding this major opportunity of transcending a reincarnation era, an unexpected line came from Duandong River: none from the pulse of the Divine Eye clan qualify. Thus all must die. This immediately caused all 7 true masters to blank out. It was as though they had been given a good slap right in the face. The 7 true masters felt a surge of despair and anger. Why must he sever all chances for their Divine Eye clan to try to transcend reincarnation? Why? Why must it be so unfair? Why? Now, they all knew why. It was because of a request from a friend of Duandong River. Because this friend had made a request, the Divine Eye clan had lost their chance, to the extent that 2 great universe supreme masters and numerous elites had to die. Who? Who the hell is it? This friend of Duandong River. Who the hell is he? First true master let out a roar of rage. At that moment, the entire first miniature universe seemed to undergo a mind-blowing change between heaven and earth. Slight tremors could be felt. Who was the one who severed all our chances? Who? All the other true masters were similarly in extreme agony and rage. Within Ice Cliff Fortress, there were 28 candidates from the pulse of the Divine Eye clan, and all of them were in despair, anger, grievance, and reluctance. Lord Duandong River. Second true master transmitted his voice, which was filled with anger, but still maintaining sanity. For this round of inheritance, our Divine Eye clan has abided with all your requirements, warding off that monster Quayo, decoding the Rhinoceros Emperor game, all of which were done without any acts of sabotage. Now, because of a request from someone whom none of us knows, you are going to exterminate the entire pulse of our Divine Eye clan. Duandong River looked down at Ice Cliff Fortress and said in a detached tone, "Exterminating you all is a small matter that I happen to have chanced upon. Is there no chance that you could change your mind?" Second true master was still reluctant to give up. Duandong River merely snorted his reply. How ridiculous. Upon hearing his reply, second true master finally gave in to his despair, and shouted angrily, "Duandong River, you are merely an old fellow, who has died umpteen reincarnation eras ago. Just who are you to think of exterminating my entire pulse of Divine Eye clan? Not so easy. I really will like to see just how great the power of a dead fellow like you can be." Seventh true master's voice also resounded, "Duandong River, just who is that friend of yours? Who would want to exterminate the pulse of my Divine Eye clan? Who? Who is it?" Other angry voices shouted. They were all eager to know which bastard would want to cause the entire Divine Eye clan to fall into such a desperate situation. "No rush," said Duandong River, looking down at them. "I will let you all know." Then he pointed somewhere into the distance. One of the walls within the hall suddenly split into 2, revealing a passageway. Every great being from the various groups of powers from the universe ocean all looked over, as they were all eager to know just who would be able to cause Divine Eye clan to fall into such a predicament. Luo Feng also looked toward that passageway. He could vaguely see a blurred figure walking out slowly. He was covered in golden scales and took the form of a human. Behind him, he had a pair of golden wings, and 9 pairs of eyes swept the crowd. But no one dared to look him straight in the eyes. "It's him. Luo Feng was shocked when he recognized the great being who had stepped out. Thundercoat, Devil God. Thundercoat, Devil God, was a lone wandering universe Supreme Master from the second reincarnation era. Among all the universe Supreme Masters, he was considered average, and because he did not have a supreme true treasure, the true treasure, Thundercoat, made him a name for himself. It was merely a treasure like crazy demon extermination godly armor. Within Universe Ocean, he was one of the universe Supreme Masters who maintained an extremely low profile. Thundercoat. It's him. Duan Dong River's friend is Thundercoat, Devil God. Not only was Luo Feng was taken aback, but all the groups of powers from East Emperor Holy Land, Purple Moon Holy Land, and the three reincarnation eras were shocked beyond words. Thundercoat, Devil God, who kept such a low profile that there was almost no news about him at all, was unexpectedly associated with the matter of wanting to exterminate the Divine Eye clan. Second True Master was still in disbelief. Thundercoat. Are you the one who requested that Duan Dong River sever the only chance for my Divine Eye clan? You even want to exterminate the pulse of my Divine Eye clan. Thundercoat. It's you. Seventh True Master also could not believe his eyes. Thundercoat, Devil God, was just walking out of the passageway. At times, he would show a hideous expression. At other times, he would be laughing heartily but silently. He seemed to be a little out of control, and the moment he raised his head in soundless laughter, his entire body was slightly trembling. Through gritted teeth, he said, "That's right. It's me. It's me, Thundercoat. I, Thundercoat, am the one manipulating everything behind the scenes. I am the one who broke off all chances for your pulse of the Divine Eye clan. I am the one who wanted to exterminate you all. Second True Master and Seventh True Master. Ha ha. Just the dozen of you Universe Masters. Ha ha." Thundercoat, Devil God's voice was trembling. "You deserve to die." Seventh True Master bellowed. "Thundercoat, Devil God, you deserve death." Second True Master also shouted at the top of his lungs. In the Great Hall of Ice Cliff Fortress, voices were heard in succession. Thundercoat, Devil God stood at the same spot with an aloof smile as he gazed at Ice Cliff Fortress. "Deserve to die? I deserve death. You all are the ones who deserve to die. You and all of your Divine Eye clan ought to die. Death-deserving Divine Eye clan. When you all were fighting for a supreme true treasure, it was 7 True Masters joining forces to lay siege on Kong Luo and me. How vicious you all were. Kong Luo died, and I had to flee for dear life." Thundercoat, Devil God gritted his teeth and continued. "What easy targets for bullies we were, Kong Luo and myself, without being powerful enough, and without any supreme true treasure. Right? We were, indeed, ideal for bullying. You all from Divine Eye clan are so powerful. Throughout Universe Ocean, you are the only power that is comparable to the 2 great Holy Land universes. I am just a nobody with no supreme true treasure at all. How am I going to fight against you? Before you, Divine Eye clan, I stand alone. And I possess no formidable power. Am I considered anything at all?" Thundercoat shook his head. Then he laughed crazily. "I bet you did not expect this. This time, all of you have fallen for my plot." Thundercoat, Devil God, was staring hard at Ice Cliff Fortress, and his eyes seemed to be burning with flames. Who would have thought that I, Thundercoat, Devil God, who stands alone with the weak power I wield, could bring such great loss to you Divine Eye clan? Why would Duan Dong River listen to you? A hoarse voice sounded from within Ice Cliff Fortress. Because I am the very first one to enter this boat of mausoleum. Thundercoat, Devil God revealed with a cold laugh. Silence. Luo Feng and all were in great shock. To learn that they were not the first to enter the boat of mausoleum after all. It was Thundercoat, Devil God. Yet from the looks of it seemed that he was speaking the truth. All of the great beings had just arrived at this hall, but Thundercoat, Devil God had been here all along, and had even made friends with Duan Dong River. Thundercoat, Devil God laughed heartily and said, "Why do you think the boat of mausoleum is here? The boat of mausoleum should originally appear at the core land of the universe boat. The core is where Universe Supreme Masters do not dare to intrude, as they only dare to traverse familiar regions. When the boat of Mausoleum appeared, not even one of you knew. If I were a Universe Supreme Master, and even until the end, I am unable to receive that inheritance, do you all think you stand a chance for a turn? This is why I struck a deal with Duandong River. In fact, all of you should thank me. Thundercoat, Devil God's gaze swept through the crowd and stopped when it reached Luo Feng. Especially you, human Milky Way. All the more, you should thank me. Luo Feng merely smiled. Thundercoat, Devil God also laughed and said, I should thank you, too. Thank you for performing so well, for being among those with the greatest potential. And for not letting the Divine Eye clan snatch the first position away. There was silence throughout Ice Cliff Fortress. None of them had expected that Thundercoat Devil God, who seemed so harmless and weak without any supreme true treasure, could bring such a great loss to the Divine Eye clan. Usually, only Universe Masters at the level of 5 Chaos Master, Shadow Dust Master, and Sorcerer Sprite Master would dare confront Thundercoat in battle, and they would, at most, be able to bring him to a disadvantageous position. At this moment, all of them were aware that they were in a troublesome situation. Thundercoat Devil God said softly, I gave you, Divine Eye clan, a chance to enter. I let you all rejoice and go crazy with joy. And then, at your most exciting moment, I shall drive you all straight to despair. Thundercoat Devil God gave a cold smile. If you Divine Eye clan had anyone at all, who could possibly emerge as the winner at decoding the Rhinoceros Emperor game, then I would have something to vex over. After all, Duandong River will not allow me to kill the one with the highest potential. But you, Divine Eye clan, are so useless, you are destined for total annihilation. Aren't you afraid of us, the Divine Eye clan? Second True Master, who was also in Ice Cliff Fortress, retorted with a cold smile. Who else could have potential great enough to be ranked number 1? Wouldn't it be that instead of putting us in distress, you are actually helping our clan, albeit unknowingly? Thundercoat Devil God snorted. Firstly, I do not trust the 3 reincarnation eras and 2 Holy Land universes. Instead, I allowed your clan to be ranked first. Secondly, I am prepared. If you, Divine Eye clan, were to be so lucky as to produce a great being of boundless potential, then I would rather face annihilation myself. But I will do it while dragging this great being to death along with me. He turned to look up at Duandong River with a slight bow. Lord Duandong River, please pardon my disrespect. I can understand. Duandong River nodded slightly. Thundercoat Devil God smiled. It was a relaxed smile. Lord Duandong River, this hatred has been kept in my heart for much too long. I finally have the chance to voice it. Lord Duandong River, you may take action now. All right. Duandong River nodded. Take action. 28 great beings from the Pulse of Divine Eye clan, who were all within Ice Cliff Fortress, started to panic right away. Thundercoat, you want to exterminate us all? Second True Master roared. I would like to see how this old fellow, who has been dead for umpteen reincarnation eras, could have the ability to exterminate us all. You will know soon. Thundercoat Devil God's eyes flashed a trace of sympathy, then he snorted, and after you are all annihilated, your supreme true treasures will belong to me. Come, let us see how powerful this dead fellow can be. Second True Master and Seventh True Master bellowed. Ice Cliff Fortress suddenly transformed into light, and brought with it an immeasurable power, as it crashed right toward Thundercoat Devil God. Freeze! Duandong River looked down and pointed into the distance. The surfaces of the walls within the entire hall started to release countless golden secret engravings, which took the form of golden threads that converged in mid-air, then surged toward Ice Cliff Fortress in a frenzied manner. Like silk over a cocoon, these golden threads wrapped up Ice Cliff Fortress, layer over layer, to completely bind and restrain it. Ice Cliff Fortress struggled with all its might, causing the surrounding void space to tremble. But the countless golden threads restrained Ice Cliff Fortress with such concrete layers that there was no way it could force its way out. Only restraining, yet not exterminating. A voice was heard from within Ice Cliff Fortress. This supreme true treasure is, after all, truly a supreme true treasure. How ridiculous. Duandong River looked down and gently pointed to the ground, which instantly split apart to reveal a deep abyss. Within that abyss, bouts of a terrifying aura were spreading out. Ice Cliff Fortress, under the restraint of the countless golden threads, seemed to be forced to move toward the ground with the entrance into the abyss. The secret technique left within this hall may not be able to exterminate you all, but the other dangerous lands that I have left within my inheritance will be more than enough to complete the deed. Supreme true treasure. How ridiculous. In my homeland, there is no such thing as a supreme true treasure. Duandong River shook his head with a sneer. Ice Cliff Fortress was struggling like mad. In it, Second True Master and Seventh True Master were bellowing, but they were unable to stand against the countless golden threads pushing them directly into the terrifying abyss. There was a loud crash. Then, bang! The entrance of the abyss closed, and the area where the ground had split open was returned to its original state. Peace resumed. This video will end here.